The billionaire was a man known for his wealth, power, and precise thinking. He had built his empire from the ground up, and every decision he made was carefully calculated. One morning, he faced a problem that no amount of money seemed to solve. He was hosting a very important international meeting, bringing together investors, business partners, and clients from different countries. The stakes were incredibly high because this deal could change the future of his company and create opportunities worth millions. Everything depended on clear communication. But there was one major problem: the language barrier. The billionaire had hired 10 professional interpreters, each with years of experience translating for global leaders. He expected them to understand the nuances, the tone, and the exact meaning of every word spoken. He knew that in such high-stakes meetings, even a small misunderstanding could cost him millions. However, from the moment the meeting started, things did not go as planned. The interpreters struggled to keep up with the fast-paced conversation. Some mixed up words, others missed subtle cultural cues, and a few even hesitated, unsure how to convey the complicated financial terms. The billionaire grew frustrated. His usual calm demeanor began to crack as he watched the confusion grow. He noticed that the investors were also losing patience. Questions were being misunderstood, proposals were being misrepresented, and the meeting was starting to turn into chaos. For someone who prided himself on efficiency, this was unacceptable. He tapped his fingers on the table, thinking about how much time, money, and effort had been wasted on these interpreters. Meanwhile, the room was filled with tension. The interpreters whispered among themselves, trying to figure out how to fix the mistakes. They were embarrassed and stressed because no one expected them to fail, especially not in front of such an important billionaire. The atmosphere felt heavy, like a storm was about to hit. The billionaire realized he needed a solution fast. He could not let this meeting collapse after all the preparation. He needed someone who could bridge the gap, someone who could understand every word and every intention perfectly. As the discussion continued, the billionaire's eyes wandered around the room, looking for anyone who might help. He thought about canceling the meeting or postponing it, but that would make him look weak. He needed a solution immediately. At that moment, he noticed the cleaning lady quietly moving around the room. She had been there all along, tidying papers and making sure everything was in order. She seemed ordinary, humble, and invisible, and yet something about her made him pause. He wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was more to her than he realized. The billionaire reflected on the situation, thinking about how often people judge others by their appearance or their position. He realized that everyone in the room, including himself, had underestimated the potential of ordinary people. He felt a spark of hope that perhaps a fresh perspective could solve the problem. Maybe the answer was not in wealth, titles, or degrees, but somewhere completely unexpected. The tension in the room was high, and he knew he needed to act quickly. Every passing minute was critical, and he could not afford another mistake. As the meeting moved forward, the billionaire prepared himself for a bold decision. He would give someone completely unexpected a chance to try. The interpreters were highly skilled, but they were failing, and this failure created an opportunity for someone unnoticed, someone who might have hidden talent, someone who might be able to speak more than what appeared on the surface. The billionaire realized that sometimes the most valuable abilities are not found in resumes or certifications, but in passion, persistence, and self-taught skills. By the end of the morning, the billionaire had made up his mind. He decided to take a risk and observe closely, hoping to find the solution in the most surprising place. Little did he know that this decision would completely change the course of the meeting. The tension, the frustration, and the chaos were about to turn into astonishment and inspiration, because the solution was much closer than anyone expected, hidden in plain sight, in the form of someone ordinary yet extraordinary. This moment marked the beginning of a story that would not only shock the billionaire but also teach everyone watching a powerful lesson about talent, humility, and the unexpected brilliance of ordinary people. The stage was set, and soon, what seemed impossible would become reality. The cleaning lady had always been quiet, blending into the background as she went about her work, sweeping floors, organizing papers, and making sure everything looked perfect. No one ever noticed her much, and she liked it that way. She had learned long ago that being invisible could sometimes be an advantage, but today, she couldn't help but notice the tension in the billionaire's office. The room was full of frustration, with 10 highly skilled interpreters stumbling over words and creating confusion. She felt a strange mix of curiosity and concern. wondering how such an important meeting could go so wrong. As she moved quietly past the tables, she overheard snippets of conversations in different languages, words she had studied herself for years, practiced late at night after finishing her cleaning duties. She had learned 6 languages, not from school or certificates, but from sheer determination and a love for learning: French, Spanish, German, Italian, Mandarin, and English flowed naturally in her mind. Yet she had never shared this talent with anyone, fearing ridicule or disbelief. Today, though, something inside her stirred, a feeling that this might be the moment to step forward. She paused near the corner, watching the billionaire's frustration mount. He was tapping his fingers impatiently, glancing at the interpreters with disappointment. The investors looked confused, whispering among themselves. Clearly, they expected a smooth conversation, but what they got was chaos. She could feel their confusion and frustration like a heavy weight in the room, and her heart went out to them. She knew the words, the meanings, the nuances. She just needed the courage to speak. Taking a deep breath, she stepped a little closer, hesitating. Her hands trembled slightly, not because she lacked ability, but because she knew the stakes. One wrong word, one hesitation, could ruin everything. She cleared her throat softly, hoping someone would notice. The billionaire's eyes flicked toward her, curious at the sudden movement. "Do you speak languages?" he asked, almost in disbelief. She nodded, her voice steady but quiet. "6, she said simply. A ripple of surprise went through the room. The billionaire raised an eyebrow. "6?" he repeated, skepticism in his tone. The interpreters exchanged uneasy glances. Some smiled nervously, thinking she must be exaggerating, but others grew worried, sensing that their moment of authority might be challenged. The cleaning lady swallowed her fear, feeling a strange calm wash over her. This was her moment to prove that skill and determination mattered more than titles or appearance. The billionaire hesitated for a moment, then said slowly, "All right, show me." She nodded and stepped forward. Her first task was simple, translating a short sentence from Mandarin to English. She spoke clearly, every word precise, conveying not only the meaning but also the tone and subtle emotion behind it. The investors leaned in, astonished at the clarity. The billionaire's eyes widened as he realized she was not just competent, she was exceptional. Word spread quickly in that small office. Even the interpreters watched in disbelief as she moved effortlessly between French, German, Spanish, Italian, Mandarin, and English. She handled every question, every request, every complicated phrase with skill and confidence. There was no hesitation, no doubt, just smooth, flawless translation. The billionaire could not hide his astonishment. He had expected competence. But what he saw was brilliance, hidden all these years in a woman who had quietly cleaned his office without ever being noticed. By the end of the first hour, the entire room had changed. The tension that had filled the air was gone, replaced by amazement and respect. Investors smiled, nodding at her translations. The interpreters, who had once been the center of attention, now watched in awe, recognizing that they had underestimated someone entirely. The cleaning lady, still humble, felt a quiet pride, knowing that her years of dedication to learning had finally paid off. She had taken a risk, stepped forward, and changed everything. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, shaking his head, realizing that life often hides extraordinary talent in the most ordinary places. He had been so focused on appearances and credentials that he had missed the one person who could save his meeting. Now, he knew the lesson was clear. Genius does not always wear a suit or carry a certificate. Sometimes it sweeps the floors, quietly studying languages at night, waiting for the moment to shine. The cleaning lady had surprised everyone, but the real test was yet to come. The billionaire had seen her skill with short sentences, but now the stakes were much higher. Complex negotiations, technical terms, and subtle emotional cues were flying across the table. She needed to prove not just that she could translate words, but that she could convey meaning, intent, and nuance. The entire room watched, holding their breath. The investors began speaking rapidly in their native languages, switching between Mandarin, Spanish, and French. Each sentence carried weight. Contracts hung in the balance. The interpreters looked tense, realizing they were no longer the center of attention. Their earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced with doubt and astonishment. The cleaning lady listened carefully, her mind working like a precise machine. She translated each phrase flawlessly, capturing the emotions and intentions behind the words, not just the words themselves. The billionaire leaned forward, amazed. He had never expected to see someone handle multiple languages with such speed and accuracy. Every time the investors asked a question or made a statement, she responded instantly, without hesitation. Her calm confidence contrasted sharply with the chaos that had filled the room earlier. Even the investors, used to professional interpreters, were impressed, whispering to each other, nodding in approval, and smiling. One investor tried to test her, using a complex legal phrase in German. Expecting her to stumble, she paused only for a moment, then translated it perfectly into English, adding the subtle tone that made the meaning clear. The room fell silent. Even the billionaire, who had seen many talented people in his life, could not hide his astonishment. His eyes widened, and he muttered under his breath, "Incredible." The meeting grew more intense, with multiple languages flying back and forth. Financial jargon, technical terminology, and persuasive arguments were thrown into the mix. She handled everything effortlessly, switching from French to Mandarin, then Italian to Spanish, and back to English. Each translation was smooth, precise, and natural. The investors began to rely on her completely, ignoring the professional interpreters, who now felt redundant and surprised. The cleaning lady's confidence grew as she continued. She realized that her years of learning, late nights of practice, and self-discipline had prepared her for this moment. What had seemed like a quiet, invisible life now shone brightly in front of the most powerful people in the room. She felt a quiet pride but remained humble, knowing that she was there to help, not to show off. The billionaire observed her closely, thinking about the lessons hidden in this moment. Talent and intelligence often exist in places where no one expects. His assumptions about status, profession, and appearance had been completely wrong. Here was a woman who had spent her life cleaning offices, yet she outshone 10 highly trained interpreters. His respect for her grew with every word, and he realized that greatness often hides behind humility. By the end of the morning, the meeting had transformed completely. What had started as confusion, frustration, and failure became smooth, productive communication. Contracts were clarified, deals were negotiated, and decisions were made with confidence. Investors smiled and shook hands, expressing gratitude for the flawless translations. The cleaning lady quietly returned to her tasks, her work still unobtrusive. Yet her impact was undeniable. The room buzzed with excitement. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, reflecting on what he had witnessed. He had learned a valuable lesson. Never judge someone by their role, appearance, or past. True talent can be hidden, waiting for the right moment to shine. And when it does, it can astonish, inspire, and even change the course of important events. The cleaning lady had not only saved the meeting, but had also shown everyone that brilliance could exist anywhere. That day marked a turning point. The professional interpreters realized that credentials and experience alone were not enough. The investors left with a story they would tell for years, about a humble woman who spoke 6 languages fluently and changed the outcome of a high-stakes negotiation. The billionaire knew he had witnessed something extraordinary, and he could never forget the quiet, determined woman who had amazed him. The billionaire could not stop staring at the cleaning lady. Each word she spoke carried clarity, confidence, and a subtle grace that left everyone in awe. He had never expected to witness something like this. The interpreters, once so confident, now looked embarrassed and quietly stepped back. Their failure had been complete, and the cleaning lady's brilliance had shined through. The billionaire leaned forward, realizing that he had underestimated her for far too long. He watched as she moved seamlessly between languages, translating complex sentences and emotional nuances that even the interpreters struggled to capture. Every time she spoke, the investors nodded, smiled, or laughed, completely understanding the meaning and the intention behind the words. The billionaire felt a mix of amazement and admiration. He realized that talent and intelligence are often hidden in the most unexpected places, and humility does not mean a lack of ability. The cleaning lady continued her work, her calm demeanor unshaken. She had long accepted her role as a quiet observer in the world, but now, she had become the center of attention for reasons she had never imagined. Each sentence she translated perfectly reinforced the lesson she had learned herself over the years. Persistence, dedication, and self-education could overcome every obstacle. The billionaire began to see her not just as an employee, but as someone extraordinary. At one point, he asked her to translate a particularly tricky conversation involving technical financial terms mixed with subtle cultural references. The room went silent as she listened, processing everything in her mind. Then, with remarkable precision, she delivered the translation, capturing every detail, every emotion, every subtle cue. The investors were amazed, some whispering to each other in disbelief. Others leaned back in their chairs, clearly impressed. The billionaire could not hide his astonishment, realizing that he was witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He called her over, motioning respectfully, and said, "You have done something that no one else could do, not even the best interpreters we hired. You have a gift, and it has changed everything today." She looked at him humbly, her hands folded in front of her, and simply said, "I just wanted to help." Her modesty only added to the billionaire's admiration. He realized that intelligence paired with humility creates an impact far greater than arrogance or pride ever could. Word of her ability quickly spread through the office. Even those who had doubted her now watched with respect. The investors thanked her personally, shaking her hands and praising her skill. The interpreters quietly acknowledged her superiority, understanding that no amount of certification could replace natural talent combined with dedication. The cleaning lady had not only saved the meeting, but she had also taught a lesson in humility and recognition. The billionaire reflected on the day, thinking about the assumptions he had made. He had believed that wealth, titles, and experience determined success. But now he knew that brilliance could be hidden in the most ordinary places. A woman who had spent years cleaning offices, unnoticed by everyone, had outshined the most experienced professionals in the room. Her intelligence, perseverance, and passion had created a ripple effect that no one could ignore. By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere had completely changed. Frustration and tension had been replaced by admiration and inspiration. The billionaire realized that he had witnessed something extraordinary, and he wanted to ensure her talents were recognized properly. He made a mental note to provide her with opportunities far beyond her current role. This was a person who could contribute more than anyone could have imagined, and he would not let such talent remain hidden again. As the cleaning lady returned to her usual work, quietly and humbly, she could feel the respect in the room. It was no longer just about cleaning or languages. It was about acknowledgement, inspiration, and the incredible power of persistence. The billionaire's astonishment had turned into genuine respect, and he knew that today would be remembered as the day he learned one of life's most important lessons. Never underestimate anyone, for greatness can emerge from the most unexpected places. Her quiet brilliance had not only saved the meeting but had changed the perspective of everyone present, leaving a lasting impression that would inspire, astonish, and motivate for years to come. The cleaning lady had stepped into the spotlight, not for fame or recognition, but to prove that dedication, intelligence, and humility are more powerful than any title or position. The billionaire's admiration grew, and he knew that her journey had only just begun. The cleaning lady returned to her work quietly, sweeping the floor and straightening the papers, yet the room had changed completely. The investors were still talking among themselves, clearly impressed. The billionaire sat back in his chair, reflecting on what had just happened. He realized that her talent was not just extraordinary, it was life-changing, not just for him or the investors, but for her as well. He stood up, motioning for everyone to pause, his eyes locked on the cleaning lady, who looked up, surprised and slightly nervous. He walked over slowly, carefully choosing his words. "Today, you have done something no one could imagine," he said. His voice was calm but full of respect. "You have spoken 6 languages flawlessly, handled complex negotiations, and saved this meeting from failure. Your talent is incredible, and I want you to know that it will not go unnoticed." The cleaning lady felt a rush of emotions, pride mixed with disbelief. She had never expected anyone to acknowledge her like this. She had always been invisible, her work unnoticed, her life quiet. But now, the billionaire, one of the most powerful men she had ever met, was recognizing her abilities. It was overwhelming, but she remained humble, responding softly, "I only did what I could to help." The billionaire smiled, shaking his head in amazement. "Helping is just the beginning," he said. "Your skills are exceptional, and I want to offer you opportunities far beyond your current role. You will not just work here cleaning offices. I want to help you grow, learn, and use your talent in ways you never imagined." The cleaning lady blinked, unable to fully comprehend his words. She had never dreamed of a future like this. Yet the sincerity in his voice reassured her. He continued, "I will provide resources, training, and support, not because you need it, but because the world should see what you can do. You have proven that intelligence and dedication are more important than position or wealth. Today, you have inspired everyone in this room, and I want your journey to inspire millions more." The investors nodded, some applauding quietly, impressed by the billionaire's gesture and the cleaning lady's humility. The professional interpreters, once so confident, now watched in silence, realizing they had witnessed a rare moment. A person with no official titles, no formal education in interpretation, had outshined them all. They felt respect, even admiration, recognizing that talent cannot be measured by credentials alone. The cleaning lady smiled softly, her heart full of hope and gratitude. She had always loved learning languages, but she had never imagined it would lead to this moment. Over the next few days, the billionaire arranged private meetings with her, discussing how to expand her role. He offered language courses, public speaking lessons, and opportunities to work directly on high-level projects. He wanted her potential to grow without limits. She accepted quietly, knowing that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. Her humility remained, but her confidence grew. She realized that persistence, passion, and self-education could truly open doors. News of her abilities and recognition spread quickly throughout the company. Employees and investors alike were inspired by her story. They saw that hidden talent exists everywhere, sometimes in the most ordinary people. The cleaning lady became a symbol of hope and possibility, showing that anyone, regardless of their background or status, could achieve greatness through dedication and learning. The billionaire often reflected on that day, realizing that his assumptions about people had been completely wrong. The day ended with a quiet sense of celebration, not loud or flashy, but meaningful. The cleaning lady had stepped out of the shadows and into a future full of promise. Her life had changed forever, not because of wealth or fame, but because someone had recognized her talent and given her the chance to shine. She had proven that brilliance can exist in the most unexpected places, and her story would continue to inspire anyone who ever doubted themselves. By evening, the billionaire sat alone, thinking deeply. He understood that true leadership means seeing potential in everyone, valuing skills beyond titles, and nurturing hidden talent. The cleaning lady had taught him one of the most important lessons of his life. That day marked the beginning of her transformation, from a humble worker to a respected professional, ready to take on challenges that once seemed impossible. The world had finally seen her brilliance, and nothing would ever be the same again. The cleaning lady had proven herself beyond anyone's imagination. Yet even as the meeting ended and the office quieted, she remained humble, quietly tidying up the room. Her work continued. But now the room held a new energy, an unspoken respect for the woman who had amazed everyone with her incredible talent. The billionaire watched her closely, feeling a deep sense of admiration. He realized that the lesson of the day was bigger than just languages or business deals. It was about recognizing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Word of her talent spread quickly beyond the office. Investors and colleagues shared the story, telling friends, family, and business partners about the humble cleaning lady who had spoken 6 languages flawlessly. The story went viral within the company, inspiring countless employees. They began to understand that brilliance often hides where you least expect it, and opportunities can appear in the most surprising ways. The cleaning lady became a symbol of perseverance, humility, and determination, showing that learning and hard work can change a life completely. The billionaire, reflecting on everything that had happened, realized he had learned more than anyone else in the room. He had seen people judged by their appearance, their role, or their status, but talent and intelligence could not be measured by those things alone. He began to think about his own assumptions, wondering how many other brilliant individuals had gone unnoticed simply because no one looked closely enough. This single moment reminded him to value people for their abilities, not their titles. The cleaning lady's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. She was offered formal opportunities to use her language skills, working on important international projects. She received mentorship, training, and guidance. But she never lost the humility that had defined her. She approached each task with the same quiet dedication, her confidence growing with every new challenge, yet she never forgot her roots. The long nights she had spent learning languages in silence, or the ordinary life she had once accepted as her limit. Her story inspired everyone who heard it. People began to reflect on their own hidden talents and dreams, encouraged by the cleaning lady's example. They realized that passion and persistence could overcome barriers that seemed impossible. From students struggling to learn, to professionals doubting themselves, her journey became a source of hope, showing that the most unexpected people can accomplish extraordinary things when given a chance. The billionaire, now deeply impressed and changed, made it his mission to recognize hidden talent wherever he could. He promoted fairness and opportunity in his company, encouraging others to look beyond appearances and titles. His respect for the cleaning lady was matched by his admiration for her humility. She had not sought fame or wealth, yet her actions had transformed the lives of everyone around her, including his own. Months later, the cleaning lady continued to work with the billionaire and his team. Each day brought new challenges and chances to prove herself. But more than her skill with languages, it was her determination, intelligence, and quiet strength that made her truly exceptional. She had become an inspiration, not just in the office, but for everyone who heard her story, showing that talent and hard work could break through barriers and change destinies. Looking back, the billionaire knew he would never forget this lesson. He had learned that true greatness often appears where no one expects it, that ordinary people could accomplish extraordinary things if they were given the right opportunity. The cleaning lady had not only saved a high-stakes meeting, she had reshaped his understanding of leadership, talent, and human potential. Her story would remain a powerful reminder that brilliance does not always announce itself. Sometimes it waits, quietly, ready to astonish the world when the moment comes. And so, the humble cleaning lady, once unnoticed and underestimated, became a symbol of hope, inspiration, and the incredible power of learning, dedication, and courage. The billionaire watched her, still astonished, knowing that this ordinary woman had achieved something truly extraordinary, leaving a legacy that would inspire generations to come. The room had seen frustration, chaos, and doubt, but it ended with respect, awe, and a lesson that would last a lifetime.